Hi, everybody. We are at 1,461 days since Richard was murdered on Fort Bliss. Murdered on Fort Bliss, premeditatedly murdered on Fort Bliss. It doesn't seem like these generals care about the soldiers. Um, yeah, Richard was absolutely a whistleblower. Absolutely, he was retaliated against. Absolutely, he was under 24-hour security watch because of his whistleblowing, because of the danger there on Fort Bliss. And there was a breach in the security. His security detail did not show up for duty, and Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room. We have eyewitness um, testimony on that. Uh, and and then he was murdered. He was murdered. A code red murdered. And of course, those that are responsible need to be held accountable. The cover up is no better. Okay, the murder is absolutely disgusting. The murder is very violent. Uh, they took a life. They took my son, right? And they took a life, and then they covered it up. They covered it up really big, and they're still covering it up. And this is 4 years. 4 years. This week has been, every second of the day, you're just thinking 4 years, 4 years, 4 years. And I don't even portray that like I probably should on the live streams because, we're doing this day in and day out, and there's so much going on, so much to do. And then, because one of the cover-ups, one of the weaponizations that they use is that they constantly tell you at the beginning, well, in our case, they were like, we can't do anything unless you bring the leads, right? You have to you have to investigate. You have to bring in the leads. Otherwise, we can't do anything. We can't do anything to help you. That's what they tell you, right? And then because this monstrosity of the CID and the FBI and all of that tell you, okay, you just have to bring in the leads. Then you have a bombardment of those up to no good that tell you you'll never be able to make it. You'll never be able to get anything done. You see, that's a psyop. Our system is a magnificent system. And all they want to do is make you think it's rotten, that it has been taken over, and that you have no chance at all in getting accountability. Don't even try. Don't use the system, right? That is one of their psyops, one of their narratives that they have been using for decades and decades. And as long as we don't do anything, as long as we think that the system is too corrupt, right? As long as we think that, right? That the system is how can I say this? Can be controlled by a criminal network, right? By a small criminal network. As long as we think that the system can be controlled by a small criminal network, and that witnesses can be harassed without penalty, that files can be tampered with without penalty, that they can't be held to account for the criminal activity that they do, then they win and they grow. And this is how they grow. But you see, it's a lie. It's a lie. Because even though they have been growing and they've contaminated our beautiful system, our beautiful military, contaminated our beautiful uniforms, our beautiful ranks, the benevolent purposes that the American people have given our system, and it's been contaminated, right? It's been contaminated by criminal activity, not by the system itself, by criminal activity, by criminals. And these criminals have to be held accountable for their criminal activities. And the system is there to hold them accountable. How else are you going to hold them accountable? How else are you going to do the oversight? Right? How else? And, the people need to get the message that they need to ask for the FOIAs. They need to do the investigations, right? They need to write all of the letters to these 15 plus agencies, right? They need to do the work because the corruption has gotten to the point where you're going to have to, if at first you don't succeed, try again many times until you reach someone that has a moral footing, has a love for the country, that is still in the system, and you don't know who they are, right? You don't know. But the system itself will allow them to get accountability. And I'm going to tell you, we've got some really good news today. We've been getting good news every day. That's why I'm coming on so late. But Jules Tuganon Chan has a real problem. He's under investigation. And, that is huge news. And so we did get confirmation of that today. And we're really, really grateful because he does not want people to know who he is. He does not want people to investigate in who he is and how he has been an influencer. The hypnotist. Okay, that's what influencers are. They're especially dishonest ones. Okay, he's a dishonest influencer, which is a hypnotist for El Pasoans to present them with a magic trick for you to believe that something is there that is not there, that something is different from what it truly is. And one of those things is called Jonathan Ambriz. Okay, and Danae Katzen. And it was absolutely the real FitFam El Paso that conducted this hypnosis, this sleight of hand narrative, this dishonest narrative about Jonathan Ambriz and Danae Katzen Gonzalez Ambriz. And that they just got married, right? They just got married. But there's a past there. And there are many connections there. And there's big money there. And there is, maybe somebody can tell. Man, I don't even know how to announce this to everybody. But I'm going to tell you from the beginning. We have told everyone something stinks. something stinks. Something is so rotten, right? And we have uncovered the rottenness of course, Ernest Christopher Grant, who they don't want they don't want you to know who he really is. They wanted to give you this false narrative, right, on who he is. And let, turn him into like some kind of hero. He's no hero. He's a total criminal. And he's a really up to no good kind of criminal. And he is a hypnotist also. And he tried to hypnotize and did hypnotize El Pasoans about the nature of Patrick Crucius, about the nature of the El Paso mass shooting, about the motives of the El Paso mass shooting. And it was an orchestrated deception, an orchestrated deception. Everything about it. Now, did people die? Yes. But the narrative, how it all happened, who was all involved, who did the shooting, all of that is an orchestrated deception. And we see that clearly that, matter of fact, I was going through all the audios that we have. And one of them, remember when I got that weird call to the hotline of someone, threatening us, threatening me. She was talking to me about our address, telling me where I live and threatening. And, and I was just trying to be very calm and keep her on the line and let her talk. Let her expose herself for the evil that she is, and just the harassment, just to hear that harassment, right? And, this is what they do. They harass. They give you a false narrative. They paint paint the character of these people falsely, right? They'll turn someone in that's a total hero like Richard and try to paint them in they try to defame them. And they'll take someone like Jonathan. They kind of defame Jonathan. When you find out who Jonathan really is, I mean, he's a disabled veteran. Okay, we know that. He's a disabled. I wonder if he knows James Hart. Did he go through that, that board? But when you understand where he's coming from, who he is, it is not anything like the picture that the Real Fit Fam El Paso painted him as. Why? Why are they trying to discredit him? Why are they trying to paint him in a negative light with Danae, making them look really bad? I mean, it's like, hey, bud, you gotta eat a lot of donuts right now. You gotta eat a lot of donuts. We gotta put on a show, right? Once you understand where, I don't know if you're allowed to eat a lot of donuts at West Point, right? I don't know if you're allowed to eat a lot of donuts at West Point. I think you're supposed to stay pretty fit. But, once you learn who he is, who he works for, what is all in his life, and to see how the Real Fit Fam El Paso painted this totally different picture of him, to the community and how he is connected to Richard's case, but yet they want to paint this totally different picture. It, it is, uh, and I'm putting this out there because Team Find Richard Halliday has skills. They have investigative skills. And I don't want people just to believe me, right? They need to absolutely look into it themselves, ask themselves, is it important to know the truth about Richard? About Richard, a whistleblower soldier who was absolutely code redded. They allowed it. And I'm not being off the wall by saying it. We know that because of Donna Martin, who is DODIG right now, right? And you can say, how in the world are you getting institutional support? And we are, a lot of it, when you have people like Donna Martin at DODIG, right? I mean, she's so up to no good. She needs to be stripped of that uniform, stripped of those stars. When you have Jesus Nieto at the FBI there in El Paso, right? How can you get accountability? How can you move forward? How in the world did Team Find Richard Halliday get that declaration of death? You're probably asking those things, right? And you just keep going in faith and you investigate and you make it important. You make the people important. Our soldiers are important. Richard is important. What happened to Asia Graham is unacceptable. What happened to Richard is unacceptable. What happened to Vanessa Guillen is unacceptable. What's happening on our military installations are unacceptable. And then when you focus on, of course, Fort Bliss, Curtis Taylor, right? Major General Curtis Taylor, the new general, and he's so out of control already. He's totally out of control and he's weak. He is so lame. He is so weak. And I haven't even written him yet. I haven't even spoken to him on the phone yet. Maybe that's too much information. But he's so weak. How do I know that? Because you just had a soldier die. You just had 2 soldiers go out into El Paso, go to a bar, start shooting each other. And his comment about his soldiers going out to a bar in El Paso and start shooting each other is, I can just see Patton going to him with his glove going, poop, 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 you weakling. You're so weak. You're so lame. We're never going to win a war with you. With generals like you, how can we ever win a war? How can we ever win a little battle? How can we ever have discipline on Fort Bliss? You just had 2 soldiers shooting each other up. One is dead. A soldier is dead. A soldier that it took hard work to recruit. It took hard work to put them through basic training. It took American taxpayers' money to put them through the basic training, the advanced individual training, to ship them to El Paso, to give them housing, to give them food. Who knows if he was deployed or not yet? These are our assets. Ours. And all he can say is, oh, thank you so much to the first responders for taking care of my soldiers. Because he won't. What the heck? How many soldiers have to die? How many people have to be put in danger? This is in a bar. This is, oh, we can't go to that bar anymore. We can't go to that bar anymore. We can't go to that bar anymore. We can't go to that restaurant anymore. We can't go to that area of El Paso anymore because my soldiers are out of control. They're not allowed to go anywhere because they are totally out of control. They shoot each other up, and they might even shoot, and I'm sure they have, civilians. And then we have cartel in El Paso that is active. And we have our soldiers that are so undisciplined, so free to act criminally. We have so many breaches in security. It's like, why do we even have Fort Bliss there? We can't even get a decent general. We can't get a decent general. Who is he? Where did he come from? Like the gummy bear factory? The wet noodle factory? Where did he come from? How can any soldier on Fort Bliss, any service member, respect him when he's such a wet noodle? When he's such a gummy worm? I just watched with my grandsons yesterday the giant gummy worm, how to make a giant gummy worm. We've got one right there on Fort Bliss making the statements. What were the statements? Oh, thank you so much. I mean, it was so lame. It was so lame. And, it's like, what message is he sending to our enemies? Oh, go ahead and, my soldiers will kill each other. My soldiers will kill each other. You can go do whatever you want. You can invade our country. You can invade other countries that we're allies with. I don't really care. My soldiers are killing each other. Thank you so much, first responders, for bandaging them up. And we'll just call the family of the dead one and, pray that the family will get the remains. Pray that the family of the deceased soldier will get the remains. So, okay, so what's another thing that's happening? So we've got the Gucci lady, right, down in San Antonio, Fort Sam Houston. The Gucci lady, $109 million. Oh, I'm CYS. I'm with CYS, right? I'm with CYS. I really like kids, youth, right? I like the youth. And I'm a con woman. And I steal from the government coffers 109 million, you know. Oh, give me 15 years in prison. Maybe I have to give back the houses, the many houses, the cars, the jewelry. It was fun while it lasted. You know, the I don't know if you've looked. She got sentenced, the Gucci lady. She was with she was a contractor and a contractor associated with the CYS down at Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio, and $109 million she stole because I want to take care of the children, but I want to buy all my houses and, get a house for you and a house for you. And I want to have lots of jewelry and some cars and this. And oh my gosh, And now, and we just had it, Molinar. How can I forget the name Molinar when, Danae's friend, William Molinar, but this is a different Molinar, are they different? Um, yeah, they're different. These are different Molinars. Um, and he just said the the financial theft in the city government is huge. Huge. And I don't want to put words in his mouth. I need to roll that back. He alluded that the corruption and the fraud in the city of El Paso is huge. And people are having a hard time paying all their taxes. People are having a hard time paying for their food. And you have this fraud, waste, and abuse within the military. Do not tell me that it's just at Fort Sam Houston, right? You've got all this fraud, waste, and abuse right there on Fort Bliss. And you've got it in the city of El Paso. And they cross over each other, clearly. And then, of course, you have what's going on the other side of the border in Mexico. 26, I believe it was 26 children, very, very young, that don't even know how to talk, have been totally, totally abused. And I put it up. Um, and it's, if you read the article, you can get it translated. It's in Spanish, but translated in English. It absolutely will tell you the story that what Richard was reporting is going on. The child sex trafficking is going on, y'all. It is international. It is huge. And, Richard's a hero. He's a hero. So there's 3 huge articles and all this information about Jonathan Ambriz that is coming up that is so quite the opposite of what the real Fit Fam El Paso or Fit Fam El Paso Instagram wants us to believe, what these articles wants us to believe. And yeah, no, he is absolutely not what the media has portrayed him to be. The portrayal, terrible, it's late. Uh, they want you to think he is kind of a chunky, slobby, con artist, whatever. No, y'all, it's much different. And Jonathan Ambriz is connected to Richard's case. Okay. And that's important. That's important. The other thing, of course, with Bill Hicks, we have, ongoing and active investigations into Bill Hicks, his time. We're getting a lot of feedback about this. So keep your eyes on on El Paso. Keep your eyes on the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office. If you are Yvonne Rosales, get your boots on, strap them on tight, put on that full armor of God. You're up. You're up. So, yes, you were retaliated against. Yes, it's been a terrible thing. Yes, I understand. Where none of us is perfect. Not one of us is good enough, right? Not one of us. Not one of us is perfect. Not one of us is totally good. It doesn't matter. You do your duty. You put on your boots and you do the right thing. And Yvonne Rosales needs to do that. She needs to you know, I don't know what she's afraid of because the alternative is worse. The alternative is worse. So, and it's, we have to take a lesson from whatever you think of, uh, what's going on the macro level, the macro level with, you see the media now all painting a false picture of an individual and then painting another false picture of another individual. They are doing a hypnosis on us. Don't fall for it. It's a double hypnosis. They've been doing it for a while, and then now, the truth, they cannot stop the truth from getting out. So if you're not hypnotized by this, the way they are framing individuals, right? And trying to make them out to be something they are not. I think that's the best way. They try to make Jonathan Ambriz out to be someone he is not. And it's, are they part of a con? Yeah. But it is just so different than what they have led us to believe. And DHS could tell us, right? DHS could tell us. And it just seems like this cyber world. But even they have no, they might have power, but they don't have dominion. And that's something we have to understand. They cannot stop the truth. They can try to manipulate. They can try to do a hypnosis. They can try to frame the narrative. They can try to do all of their dirty work. But when you stand on your faith and you stand on what's right and you stand on the truth, those bullets that they send your way of all this false narrative in it, you can just flick them away. Or they just sting you a little bit, and you can say, wait a minute, this Jonathan Ambriz, he's not some fat. I mean, they got him to eat a lot of donuts, okay? They got him to eat a lot of donuts. But they couldn't stop the truth from coming out. And so, they couldn't stop the truth from coming out about dirty agent Marlon Soto. It all makes sense now why, he didn't care about Danae at all. Right? Danae just was a tool, just was a weaponization. And then, they couldn't stop the truth from getting out about Tavita Nusa. Tavita Nusa hurt himself with his own reports about himself. And that's coming out. And they couldn't stop the truth from coming out about Leilani Hart, the confirmed convicted criminal. And they cannot stop the truth from coming out about James Hart and his Hart childcare. Right? He cannot stop that. And, so they can have power. They can be in the DHS. They can be in the VA. They can be in the FBI. They can be in the CID. And they might have, powers to tamper, to give unauthorized access to files, to delete and sanitize, to, find out the names of the witnesses and then go and harass witnesses and stuff like that. They might have the power to do all that, but they don't have dominion. God has dominion. And God is a just God. And even the unjust judges, under the pressure of the people nagging and calling for what is right, they will judge justly. Now, has turned out to be one of my most favorite verses and lessons in the Bible, because that means that the system that God has control over is like the stars in their course that fought against Sisera, right? That even the unjust judge doesn't have the power enough to stop justice. It's become like one of my favorite. Oh man, I just stand on that with all my faith, that we write enough letters. We make our case to enough that in that system, they will have to rule justly. And that happened, didn't it, with the declaration of death. The criminals did not want us to have the declaration of death. That gave us too many rights and too many resources. And they did not want us to have that. But they couldn't stop it. And now you have Jules Tuganon Chan, who always wanted to be anonymous, right? Wanted to be in the security world. You know, he called himself the hacker. I didn't call him the hacker. He called himself the hacker. We have that. His LinkedIn, that's why he had multiple LinkedIn. That's why he wanted to get rid of his online presence. Because they want to frame the narrative on who he is. And I can tell you this, he's got unjust support, and he's up to no good. Up to no good. But that unjust support just got dropped, because now we have confirmation that he's being investigated. So that's huge. Absolutely huge. Because that has to be stopped. And this abuse of power and the abuse of our system to make these wet noodle generals not even know how to respond with strength when two of his soldiers get into a shootout and one is dead. Oh, thank you. Look at soldiers. If you get in a shootout and you kill one, but you know, the responders will come and they'll take good care of you. It's no problem. That's the kind of absolute failure in leadership that we are witnessing. And we see that with Ray, didn't we? FBI Ray, was it today? I was watching the video, and you know, it's like, okay, so you what's his name? Oh, anyway, uh, questioned him. A representative questioned him, and said, "How often do you meet with the president to give him a briefing?" Right? Oh yeah, I meet with him, sometimes a whole lot, and sometimes not so much. And is the vice president there? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes she's there. Da da da. He goes, well, when did you notice that he was mentally unable to handle the job? He's like, I didn't notice that. You mean you're the FBI? You didn't notice that? I didn't notice that. What is he going to say? And then the representative is like, wait a minute. They just forced the president out of his campaign because he is mentally unfit, and you are the FBI, and you're like, oh, I didn't see anything. I didn't know anything. When did the vice president know? Right? I mean, it was such a display of the abuse of power, the abuse of their position, and that they cannot be trusted for the security of our country, of our elected officials, of our system. I mean, this whole assassination attempt on Trump is the response to it is so similar to what happened with Richard, right? It's like, look for him. Why aren't you looking for him? Why aren't you, no, 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 nothing to see here, nothing to see here. No, no. I mean, just excuses, 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 no timeline, no. And it's left to the good people of this country to do the forensics, to do the investigation, to do the letters, to call for the resignations, to impeach, to, all of that. It's the people, that demand it from the representatives, from the system, that we need to know what happened, get that information out. Oh, was DHS that was training in the same place that Crooks was practicing how to shoot? It's like, really? Okay. Oh, his house was sanitized. They didn't even have silverware or whatever. I mean, they say there's multiple shooters because of all the forensics. And I mean, and you have all of this going on, and you have the inept answers from the FBI, from the now resigned Secret Service, Cheadle. But I have good news, because in that whole thing, you still have, in that whole abuse of power, you have a system that has not tolerated them doing what they're doing. It's ending. That's why Cheadle had to resign. The toleration of the people. See, when we hear that our government is by the people, for the people, of the people, right? We don't take that seriously. And it is. It's very serious. It's not by Cheadle. It's not by Ray. It's not for Ray. It's by the people, for the people, of the people. And, it does begin with this Bible is for the government of the people, by the people, for the people, right? This Bible is. That's Wycliffe. And of course, Abraham Lincoln took that from the preface of the Wycliffe Bible. Because without the sovereignty of God, without the Ten Commandments in every court, right? Without a basis of law, right? The basis, that every word that proceedeth from the mouth of God. Without a moral basis, we just have chaos. There has to be accountability. In Richard's case, the prime suspects, they need to be held accountable. And what happened in Walmart, they need to be held accountable. The false narrative framers need to be held accountable. Because the propagandists, the hypnotizers, it's an evil part of this criminal network. Bob Moore, absolutely part of this criminal network, trying to form and frame and deceive the people of El Paso with false narratives, false stories, false story about Richard. We absolutely cannot let him put out a false story about a hero, a total hero, because it is the whistleblowing. How many of these young babies, these are babies in this article today, that were sexually assaulted over and over again. We have total chaos if we let the likes of Bob Moore put false stories out there about whistleblowers that are trying to shine a light on this criminal network, international criminal network, that hurts our babies, that dehumanizes children, that they make these porn films, and it's terrible. It's so terrible. He needs to be held accountable for putting out false stories. And then to do it and expect that he doesn't have to pay any taxes on it, to do it with a 501c3. This is how brazen these criminal networker framers are. This is how brazen Jules Tuganon Chan is. Because he did it on the American taxpayer's dime. He forgot who he serves. Or he knows who he serves and he's treasonous. Because what he's done is so bad with Bob Moore, and but the system, just like Bill Hicks, it might be slow. It might be slow because God has a reason to expose even more. Look at what we have exposed, and it was never our intention. We never even thought that this would expose like a media criminal network. And I just saw the story come out about the soldiers with Rose Thayer. To me she's a total criminal. And she's probably driven to do what she's doing just to save her job, you know. So we need to stop that kind of um, abuse of power above um, who's driving these framers to do what they're doing. In Bob Moore's case, you know, it's El Paso Community Foundation. It looks like it's government and military above Jules Tuganon Chan, because they could turn off the spigot if they wanted to on him. And let's pray that this investigation that we received confirmation on today does that. And it looks like it's the government over Jonathan Ambriz too. He's not just some con man. He's somebody. And it's the same thing with Nadal Baim. So that's breaking news. And, you know, I probably got a little harsh. I don't know. I don't think I got harsh at all with this general, this new general, Curtis Taylor. I mean, it's just so disgusting to see a wet noodle. It's so disgusting to see another one of our soldiers killed. And I get, you know, other people giving me information. And please keep sending it. Please, because, you know, it's, I mean, we have a lot to go through and everything that's going on. But, you know, please do not stop. Even if we don't answer the way we should and post things as often as we need to and everything, please do not stop. Keep giving us the information, because every bit of it is helpful and puts the truth together. And there's no lying when it comes to that one of our soldiers was killed. And I just pray that that family gets his remains. So, and maybe everyone should write Major General Curtis, is it Taylor? Yeah. And say, what the heck? What is going on? This is unacceptable. Gird your loins, man, and act like a general. You know, that, I don't know. What do you say to your sons if they're, you know, a little bit weak in the knee? You say, get up, brush yourself off, you know, stand like a man, stand against the gates of hell. You know, you just, we cannot let these evil, evil criminal syndicates, and we have it coming over now. It is such a mess in Mexico. We have been paying attention to Mexico, and the cartel is over here. So watch out, gird your loins, stand up. The alternative is worse. And, you know, just because we say in Team Find Richard Halliday that these generals, you know, are abusing their power, it does not mean that we don't love our military. because we're saying it, because we are pointing out that our generals are acting weak and they're, abusing their power and they're serving somebody else besides defending the Constitution, that because we're doing that, because we're putting our names on the line like that, means that we love our service members and they're at risk. We have breaches in security everywhere. We have our soldiers killing each other. We have the cover up of brutal murders. And we have the absolute disgusting behavior that they refuse to give us our sons' remains. So we've got to change that, and we can't let any family have to go through what we've gone through. So thank you, everyone. God bless you. Please share. Thank you, Danielle, for your prayers. Justice, absolutely. And we will be back tomorrow. And I'm telling you, Jonathan Ambriz is a very interesting character. He is worth everyone looking into. And I will tell you this, he's a disabled veteran. Look into him. Yeah. He's part of Richard's case. And he is somebody. Thank you, everyone. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing.